Hello, it is Tuesday, May 3rd, and I'm calling the Finance Administration Council Committee to order. It is 6:30 p.m. All three committee members are present, as is the mayor and the city administrator and other supporting staff. Let's see, any additions or changes to the agenda? See none. If there's no objection, we'll take the agenda as approved. See none, so approved. See if there are any members of the public that may wish to make comment. Do not see any members of the public in attendance. So there are no one present to make public comments. Move on to approval of the minutes. Committee members, are there any changes or comments regarding the draft minutes? All right, seeing none, if there are no objections, we'll take the minutes as approved. Seeing no objections, the minutes are approved. Let's see, next item is approval of claims and warrants report. Are there any questions or comments regarding the claims report? Seeing none, if there are no objections, we'll take the claims report as approved. Oh, Councilmember Holloway.
And just a comment, would appreciate if staff would look in when we have refund checks. If we had explanation of why the refund might help in determining. There's just a lot of them that are just listed refund check. So just food for thought.
Is there anyone, let's see, perhaps Finance Director, did you want to respond to that?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your input. I'm hoping that you can all hear me. With regards to that, we continue to work on descriptions. Those refund checks were for utility billing account refunds. And so that is something that that we will be addressing in improved reporting. But we hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Great. If there are no further comments or questions, then if there are no objections, we'll take the claims and warrants report as approved. See no objections, it is so approved. Agenda Bill 22-071 Indigent Defense Services Agreement, and it was in our advanced materials. Are there any questions or comments from committee members, or would you like any comments from staff or further information on this? Councilmember Holloway.
So I got a couple. One, automatic renewal, 2-year period, but automatic renewals. The automatic renewals seem to be infinite in potential. Is there any thought to a certain number of automatic renewals?
You could certainly set a cap. These arrangements tend to, so in the city's history, and I think elsewhere, tend to be fairly long lasting when you get a set of folks who are comfortable with the court is comfortable with them, they're comfortable working with clients from multiple cities. It seems most effective to put something in place that renews with an opportunity to get out. And that's what's built in here is a 6-month written notice. Since we did just change, I think what we experienced was it did take a little while to investigate other options and negotiate the details and get it put in place. So a 6-month notice period seemed appropriate from our perspective. There's a 3-month carryover where they need to continue appearing if there are subsequent appearances on cases which they were appointed. So that 9-month combined period seemed to give us an opportunity to come back to the council to go out on an RFP if we had to make a change. But it's really giving you an opportunity every 2 years to make a decision whether to stay or go elsewhere or to look elsewhere. But if you wanted to cap it, 3 renewals, 5 renewals, some firm number, you could do that. I don't have a good basis to, pick a number that wouldn't be arbitrary. But one could certainly do that, which would force a re-examination or a rebid.
Well, and I guess part of the issue is the renewals are automatic. So again, the potential is infinite number of renewals. I'll cede the floor to Kara.
Councilmember Christensen.
I just wanted to ask quickly, and I didn't see it mentioned, whether we spoke with a number of different firms. I don't know how many in the area do this type of work.
We did not, given the timing. The announcement of O'Brien's departure was relatively sudden, and as I tried to explain briefly, was caused by the sudden departure of their primary lawyer who did this and their inability to find someone else to fill it. And Valley Defenders was also serving as a conflict defender for the city of Snoqualmie. And so we had some familiarity. They were familiar with North Bend and Issaquah as they were already performing that work. So it seemed a fairly natural when we put it in place with this shorter term, which kind of gave us an opportunity to try it out, both the billing arrangement as well as, to see how it worked. So we could put it out and see the other between, I think we don't have, I'm just going to look. I didn't see members of the public here. There were a number of other cities that entered into contracts around the time, and the conversation, those were at $400 per case and higher. So I did have some concern that if we put it out, that we would not be in the same position that we are, at least with this contract rate at the moment.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Holloway, did you have another question?
Yeah, I'll go to my other section. So we had this 19 cases per month with each additional case beyond that of $400 per case. And 19 cases appears to be our estimate of what our current load is now.
As near as we can tell, and that is, let me take a step back here for a moment on the rate. Part of what you're seeing in the rate increase from where we were from O'Brien to this is due to 2 factors. One, similar to the prosecution, the length of time that O'Brien was continuing to perform the services without really asking for much in the way of a case increase. That's what happened with the prosecutor. And then after 8-10 years, I think Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Holloway will recall the prosecutor came with a compensation increase last year that was really sort of captured quite a number of past years where she felt I should have asked for an increase and didn't, and now I'm facing this. So that's part of what you're seeing here. The other part is that the State Bar Association, after a lengthy study, adopted a set of public defense standards that parallel but also go beyond the state Supreme Court standards. And the WSBA committee and report and guidance indicated concern with city misdemeanor municipal public defense contracts not paying a sufficient amount to provide for longer term training for municipal public defenders to regain experience and continue in the business. And so some of the recommendations about shifting to higher amounts, to shifting to flat fee amounts, come out of the WSBA guidance and standards. And so, as I said, the Valley Defenders has a number of contracts with other cities that are at $400 per case. Other cities had case rates at that amount or higher. And so in my discussions with Valley, I was trying to get a number that more closely approximated where we were with O'Brien and Valley Defenders 350 per case conflict rate that they had been charging. And so we were trying to examine the current caseload. We're no longer prosecuting misdemeanor drug possession cases as a result of Blake. And you'll remember that's why we asked the council to surplus the drug detection canine. There's some fall off in case number in certain types of cases during the pandemic, increases in others. So that's a long way of saying we're uncertain where the true average case rate per month is in terms of number of cases. I think it's going to take us a little while to shake that out. So with some back and forth with the Valley Defenders, I was arguing for this 350 per case, and they said, well, let's cap it at 19 and see if, Mr. Sturbank, if your prediction is correct, the base rate will cover it. If you're not, we're looking to be covered for overage so that if we have to bring in help, we can. And so that's what generated this hybrid approach of a flat fee capped at 19 cases per month and 400 per case for additional amounts. So it's a long answer to your question. I apologize.
Well, and my question kind of is, we get an additional charge for overage in case counts. We get no credit for when we're under that load.
Correct. And that is the recommendation from the WSB standards was to aim at flat fee amounts because it allows public defender firms to hire and retain qualified lawyers without fear of, well, if the Snoqualmie Police Department has 3 vacancies for a 6-month period and the case rate plummets, now suddenly we're worried about whether we can pay half of our Snoqualmie lawyer or all of it. So yes, they have more protection than the city does under this arrangement. It's true, but it's a bit of a it's a feature that we have some difficulty doing anything about, I think, in this context.
It's okay if I keep going, Chair?
Yes, please do.
All right. In terms of the budget area, what was the biennial budget for this in 2020, 2021?
I am going to look to see if the chief is on. This comes out of, he is on the call for a little bit longer. It does come out of the police department budget. I am not sure what the line item amount would be for public defense.
Good evening. This is Chief Phipps. I do not have that in front of me at this point for the amount that is budgeted each year for this item.
Okay, and I'm not really, my rough estimate on this was there's about $11,000 additional a year for the service if we stay at that average 19 a month. Okay, and that doesn't get me too concerned. What does get me concerned is just a statement of we're going to cover it under the existing budget is probably the real statement is I'm going to use my underruns to pay for this, and that's a short-term fix for what, according to the contract terms, could be a long-term engagement. So we do need a long-term budget analysis of what needs to be in the budget to support this.
Right, and I anticipate that the chief and I and others will be, and maybe with Mr. Boutte or others' assistants, will be sharpening our pencils on that as part of the upcoming biennial budget. And that for the short term, we're really looking at what's remaining in the second half of the second year of the existing biennial budget.
Yeah. Would other council members have any objection to limiting this to 2 renewals?
I don't have any objection to that, Councilmember Christensen.
That's fine.
Or would you support? If you don't think it's worth it, say no to me.
I think that's probably my own views. That's good hygiene. This particular Councilmember Christensen, that's a word that a former council member used to sort of describe good housekeeping. So I should probably stop using it. But it does seem like good housekeeping to do that. in this particular case, I'm fine with it, but I think you're right. Just good housekeeping would say we ought to put some limit on it before it has to come back for reapproval. So 2 seems, so that would give us what, 2, 4, 6 years.
It's 6 years.
Yes.
So that certainly seems reasonable to me. I would support that. But you know, if city attorney or mayor had a different view, if they thought that was a bad idea, I would be open to hearing that.
I don't see that that's a problem. As I said, I was aiming at, efficient practice that would still allow the city to change course if it wanted to. But certainly I don't have no problem putting a 2-year cap that would force us to go back out at the market, report back. If the recommendation at that time is renew the contract, we can make that recommendation, or we could present other options.
So then if that's agreeable, then perhaps we could ask that you revise the agenda bill to, and let's see, is there is this just an agenda bill, or is there something attached to this?
There is an attached
an
draft
attached-
contract, and there's a place, there is a term paragraph that would be that describes the initial term and the renewal terms, and it'd be very easy to specify the maximum number of renewal terms there. And I'm happy to make that change in both the agenda bill and the draft contract.
Yep,
So
section
then-
3.
And do you think that's something that if we move forward with this, with the understanding that change will be made, is there any concern having that ready for this coming, next Monday's council meeting?
No concern from my standpoint, no.
So Councilmember Holloway, with that commitment, does that
I'm good.
address your concern?
I'm good.
All right. Any other questions or comments then?
No, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I this looks great to me. So with that change, then my thought is this is a fairly straightforward matter, I think, and we've given it a hard look in this committee, given the dollar amount and the sort of nature of it. Seems like a consent item to me. So if there's no objection, then let's approve this subject to the modifications on term just discussed. I'd go forward onto the consent agenda for Monday. Is there no objection? So approved.
All right, thank you. We will make those changes and place it on consent.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, the next item, so we're moving into discussion items. Comprehensive financial policy update. I didn't see any advanced materials. Are we not doing that tonight, or just I hadn't seen anything in advanced? That attachment just goes to a dead end, or that link.
I noticed that the attachment went to a dead end. It didn't, so I don't know if we're having some technical difficulties, but it looks like it's up on the screen. But if you were not able to access it, then I'm not sure what happened with that.
Well, yeah, so maybe you could, so is there, because it didn't work, I didn't know what, I haven't been able to read anything in advance. Is this something you would have wanted us to read in advance and then be ready to discuss, or I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure what's in there.
If I could I just inquire with the committee, there was a memo. Were you able to read the memo?
I didn't see anything on it. Other committee members, were you able to see anything on this?
I saw the documents that have been used in the past that were kind of spread out few and far between, but I did not see a memo.
The memo
Yeah,
was the first few pages.
Yeah, I believe I saw the memo, but right now the link doesn't work. I put it down. Didn't save a copy.
Well, so ideally, Finance Director, would you have wanted us, is this something where if we'd read through it, then you're hoping we would sort of have some comments and then be ready to move something forward? Or was this just a sort of a discussion item, or what were you hoping would be achieved tonight?
This was a discussion item, and the memo was an overview of the policy update initiative. And the goal certainly was not to finalize or to finish, but to kick off the process for updating financial policy. The goal over the next 3 months certainly could take longer, because updating financial policy, it's a major policy of the council for financial health and performance of the city. And what the memo served to do was provide a brief overview of financial policy and the importance of it, talk about a collaborative approach that we were proposing. And with that memo then was a copy of existing financial policies. Some are single policies on one topic. Some financial policy is included in Snoqualmie Municipal Code, and excerpts of all of the financial related code was provided so that the committee could essentially start their homework for the effort. And additionally then, in the memo was, what are the steps that we're looking to take? And that was to first review existing policies, and they were included. And then talking about the goal for separating policy from procedure and why that's important. It's always the balance of flexibility versus control when it comes to policy. Financial policy versus financial procedures, which are internal in nature and help for the finance department to, what I call, set the table for the departments in ensuring that they're part of the internal control process. They're part of the oversight in our financial activities. And so nonetheless, that is a goal. And then there's a risk assessment, and this is a tool that council members would be asked to individually prepare a risk assessment worksheet. And there was a cover sheet, and it's a tool for council to go and put down their thoughts about risks that the city might be up against, and things like disasters. There's revenue stability. It's just a way for the council to provide their input individually, and then that is summarized, and then the council may use that in order to set reserve targets. So it's primarily an exercise to tackle the reserve section of comprehensive financial policy. And then nonetheless, then a proposed policy would be put forward to the Finance and Administration Committee to start working through updated policy language using more updated or modern language, separating out procedures, talking about priorities, objectives, benchmarks, targets, and then of course, management guidance, which is what financial policy does. And then in the memo, I provided some sample policies that I have worked with other city councils in establishing new updated policies. You can see the actual work that the city of Issaquah went through. That council went about 4 plus almost 5 months in piecing up the policy, the proposed policy sections, and working through, because some existing policy will be similar language in updated policy, but our goal is to provide for kind of a one-stop shop in a financial policy document that's easy for the community, easy for the council to see what their policy is on different topics, different matters. And then finally, in the memo was an example of a table of contents of updated financial policy. And so that was an effort to show the council that it's very comprehensive. It touches on reserves, expenditures, procurement, revenues, donations, managing grants, the budget, both the operating and the capital budget, sections on debt management, sections on long-term financial planning and financial modeling, reporting, There's a section on auditing, accounting, and internal control. Things in that section are petty cash use or accounting write-offs and inventory of small and attractive items, a section on risk management, performance management, and then of course, policy would be adopted via the use of an ordinance. So that was in a very brief overview of that memo, and again, had all of those attachments. So I think that the goal would be to allow for committee members to have time to review existing policy, and then at the next committee meeting, that we would not only have risk assessments completed, but also a draft financial policy to start crosswalking, if you will, propose new policy to existing old policy.
Okay, so fantastic overview. Just to give me a sense, if we sort of added up all the materials here to look at, is this sort of, is it 10 pages? Is it 100 pages? Is it 1,000 pages? Just sort of order of magnitude, how much work do we have?
I believe the attachments in total were a little bit over 100 pages. Some of those pages were an excerpt of municipal code that was a third of a page, and some was more lengthy. There's an existing financial policy document that has a fair number of topics in financial policies. So that's the larger existing policy for review. There were some updates over the years in adding some human services, financial policy, that would certainly be added to any new policy. So it was quite a bit of homework and quite a bit of work in order to review all those current single policies and code. But I think, like I said, some of it, it's a pretty quick read on some of that, the code in Title II and Title III.
So, Chair,
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Holloway.
the link doesn't work, but the actual memo and the attachments are on page 22 through 127 of the agenda package.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see those.
I knew I saw them somewhere.
Yeah, I that's, I get used to these links, and then if it doesn't work, I don't know what to do. Okay, so committee members, you hear that there's 100 some, I guess I'm looking at the bottom of this is 134 pages. So there's a chunk of reading for us to do. Then it sounds like there's some discussion. I'm just trying to think. I love the idea that we're going to sort of leverage on other work that's already been done. Maybe we can get it done in less than 5 months. We'll leverage off the 5 months the others spent. But I'm wondering, just sort of attacking 134 pages all at once might be a pretty big bite to try and swallow in one go. But I wonder, committee members, your kind of appetite, do you want to try and break this down over a couple meetings, or kind of what's your appetite for attacking this? And I'm sorry, I see Clerk Estrada, you've had your hand raised. I apologize. Did you want to say something?
Councilmember Holloway kind of beat me to it, but I just want to reiterate it. I did upload it. I was having some verification or certification problems with some of the documents I was uploading, but it was a part of the entire packet that was put on the website in 2 different locations. My apologies if the link didn't work. Good news is that our agenda management system will be up soon, and that should be remedied. So, but fortunately, it was in the entire packet, in the complete packet. So.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't think no apology necessary. I think more it's now just sort of about kind of focusing on how we move through this. Mr. Boutte.
Hi, I'd just like to provide some context that the financial policies were incorporated into the budget calendar that council adopted at the last council meeting. In this calendar itself, we included additional some review points for the F&A committee, including May the 17th, June the 7th, and June the 21st before anything might go to the full council. Our goal as a part of this budget calendar would be to adopt something by about July the 25th. And we're hoping that's sufficient review time for both the F&A committee as well as other council members.
Fantastic. Thanks for that update. So committee members kind of, or, any thoughts you might have at this point, or maybe we kind of don't know yet. On the one hand, I'd encourage us to move through it, expeditiously, but at the same time, there's a lot of homework and then potentially a lot of discussion, maybe not with, if others have already forged the path, we may find, that helps a lot. So any thoughts on how you what sort of chunks you want to take this in? Councilmember Christensen.
Sorry, I don't know that I necessarily have a recommendation for which chunks to take, but I would appreciate going forward in chunks. I did, looking through as it popped up on the screen, I did have a chance to read the memo. I did misspeak. And I certainly read the other 130 something pages of documents. And
you did or you did not?
I did. I did. It was a bit dense. So I think that it would be helpful to go ahead and chunk that up so we can have more meaningful discussions, because coming at it, it is a lot, for sure.
Councilmember Holloway.
So simple math, based on the schedule that Drew just talked about, we've got about 4 committee meetings between now and then. And the breakdown, there are about 13 sections? 12 sections. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. Can we take sections 1 through 3 in the next committee meeting?
So Finance Director Ferguson, I know you're more familiar obviously with this material than I am. I don't know if each of those 12 sections is sort of roughly equal, or whether, can you give us any guidance? How's that sound, sort of tackling them 3 at a time, or would you advise, with that sort of a general thinking, would you advise us differently? Or let me put it differently. How would you advise us to sort of chunk that up?
What I have seen is that typically the reserve section can take a whole committee or a workshop. There are some sections, they are not equal with regards to the amount of discussion that will likely happen. For example, the investments section, the city already has a pretty updated investment policy section. So though that's the type of section that it would be, you might hear from me, is that there's really not a lot of change, and let's focus on a couple possibilities, and that may be separating the number of advisors that we use, or something of that nature that is typically relatively easy discussions. Same thing for debt management. Those are pretty easy sections to tackle. The accounting, internal control, another section. So, I'd say the expenditure or procurement section will take, likely a good workshop. Revenues possibly, but in some of the other efforts in other communities, it really depended on where council wanted to go. If they really wanted to hone in on specifically objectives or the overall policy initiatives for a specific section. So I don't want to say we'll be able to say 1 through 3 and then 4 through 6, because I want to give the council enough time, depending on where maybe more information is needed. But nonetheless, there are some bigger sections that would take up the course of one committee meeting. And we'll try to give that time frame for you depending on future discussions.
Yeah, got it. So is it a reasonable approach to just take them in the order they're presented, sort of 1 to You just take them through, 1 through to 12. Okay.
Yes.
Well, how does this sound then? Why don't I, council members, what do you think of this? Why don't we take on between now and our next meeting, being prepared to discuss the first 4 chapters. The reason I say 4, not 3, is because I've been terrible at math my whole life. I can't figure out how to do 12 divided by 4. No, because let's give ourselves the chance to move a little more quickly if we're able to move through things more quickly. So let's take on the challenge of being prepared to talk about 4. We'll challenge ourselves to get through at least 3, but if we can get through 4, all the better. And then at our next meeting, get through those and take on the next chunk, whatever. How does that sound?
Sounds reasonable.
Finance directors, how's that sound to you?
That sounds great. I'll also be sending out a worksheet, a spreadsheet to do a risk assessment, and then we're available for questions because some of the questions might be, I'm not sure what to put down here. And so we can give examples of statements that you could put down, or maybe a scoring, because it does score and gives an example reserve target. And so that's just something that we would work individually with council members, just needing to go through that worksheet.
Mayor Ross.
So between now and, so there's actually 3 FNA meetings that you'll be redoing. The one today is the 4th one. Just so you know.
Oh,
Well, my math was better than Councilmember Holloway's then, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
you're the finance guy. I'm not.
But having thought about that, if you like that idea of challenging ourselves with the ability to move more quickly, committee members, are you willing to take on the challenge to prepare the first 5? We'll try and get to at least 4, but be prepared for 5 in case we're able to move more quickly.
I think that's a good idea, especially if we end up getting bogged down in a later section. I'd rather shoot a little bit higher and have some room.
I agree to that. I'm cognizant that Director Ferguson said section 2 is kind of a meaty section, maybe even a meeting of its own, but we can prep for 5 and we get as far as we get.
Let's see how we go, but let's challenge ourselves to be prepared for that. And then, yeah. I think I'm a little bit hesitant to have financial questionnaires going out to council members before even this committee's had a chance to look at what would be in there. So I'd rather see us, if there's something you want to get out, let's get that as one of the first things to review, or let's review that first thing at our next meeting, just so this committee's given input by the time it goes out. Any objection to that?
No.
All right, so which chapter is that? Is it one of the first 5, or is it a different one that we should make sure and tee up first?
The reserves risk analysis template is for the section number 2.
Oh, great. So it's right in our plan here. So then
Yes.
Let's do that. We'll get through that at our next meeting, and then send that out with the sort of thoughts from this committee before that. Okay. Councilmember Christensen.
Sorry, just as a quick point of clarification, then if we're talking about the risk analysis in section 2, are we supposed to have filled it out, or are we just planning to go and talk about it?
The goal would be
Talk about it
to,
before it goes out to all council, but are we supposed to like run through it ourselves or have those conversations with finance? What would that look like, I guess, to be prepared adequately?
Oh, did someone freeze up? Oh,
can you hear me?
oh, now we can. We didn't hear you before. Go ahead.
Oh, my apologies. So the questions are, these are example questions for council members to identify, individually for them, what extreme events do you believe that the city's at risk for? What do you believe is the city's vulnerability to extreme events given past experience? And extreme events might be weather, or other disasters, and then what options do you believe we have to avoid, reduce, or transfer risk? And so those are things like having an updated emergency management plan and things of that nature. And then you enter in a score based on a matrix. And this was the Government Finance Officers Association created this risk assessment. And so if you enter a 5, that you believe that we're subject to extreme events of severe potential magnitude, which could require quick and decisive response from the government. And so that's the kind of scoring that this worksheet does, is for you to plug in, kind of ranking from 1 unimportant to 5 very important. And when you plug that number in, then that magically comes out in a summary of where you believe we are at risk. And there's things like revenue stability questions, expenditure volatility, liquidity, and other topics. And so that's why my approach to that is that if you have a question about what does this mean, then we just have I can help with answering that question, some examples of how other electeds have answered the question, and we just work through it together.
So maybe I could suggest, let's the 3 of us get through those questionnaires. The goal here is to give feedback so that can go out to the full council. Let's go through it ourselves. If it's clear to us how that works, we don't have any hiccups or questions, then we're in a position to say, yep, it's ready to go. If we hiccup on anything, then we can share that, and then that gets addressed before it goes out. Councilmember Holloway.
So I guess I'm confused at this stage. And maybe at other stages, but at this stage. So the worksheet I hear is more an example. You're looking for us to identify risks such as pandemic, earthquake, flood, and then gauge the likelihood and even the potential impact. Usually risks are done with likelihood and impact, and you measure them according to that. So aren't you looking for us to identify risk titles at this stage? Not just go through the spreadsheet?
Yes, somewhat. In the packet of information, in that 100+ pages, the cover sheet for the targets is what I provided, so that you can see how or what you're working on, and putting it all together based on all of those risk categories, like disasters, like revenue stability, or expenditure volatility. And so that was included to give you an example of what that revenue or that risk assessment does. The spreadsheet will, once you see it, should make sense if you go through the tabs and plug in your 1 to 5 personal perspective on risk in that category. And then it will show you in that cover sheet, if your score is between 8 and 16, then your personal council member risk factor is that you believe that there's minimal risk to retain through reserves. And so you might be more in favor of setting a lower reserve target in financial policy. So it's just a document to help council have that dialogue about where should they collectively set reserve targets for the different various funds.
And so I may have missed it. Where is this spreadsheet?
The spreadsheet I'll be sending out. The example in the packet of information was the cover sheet, and had the guidance on selecting your risk reserve target. And that was, let's see, I'm not sure, let's see, page of the packet.
Page 126, I believe.
Okay, it was at the end of it.
And that's what I was looking at. I thought you were referring to that as your risk spreadsheet. But okay, no, I'll wait and see the spreadsheet.
Okay,
I'm good.
you'll see the actual spreadsheet in action.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, we have our work cut out for us. All right, Councilor Holloway, did you, no,
Just find it in the button.
no problem. So with that plan then, Finance Director Ferguson, are we set on this topic for tonight?
I think so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see. Next item is financial reporting update. I think this is something I asked to have put on here. I know it's been on our parking lot for a while and just sort of trying to bring items off the parking lot. I think we've had some discussions over the past few months about financial reporting changes that could be made to kind of help council members kind of understand and monitor how we're doing against budget. So let's see. So if maybe the question is just sort of how that's going from finance folks, or is that something that we need a bigger discussion on? My recollection is we kind of had a discussion on that and you guys were working on something and it was kind of like, hey, let's see what you come up with and then we'll give you feedback on that. Is that a correct recollection, and kind of what's our status? Go ahead, Finance Director Ferguson.
All right, thank you. Yes, we are working on crafting a new format for the quarterly financial reporting. We have assembled some sample documents, some sample reports from other communities. And so we're taking all of those examples and we'll be putting together a Snoqualmie format. And once we have an outline and sample report, then we'd be bringing that to the committee to provide feedback and input on the details and data that would be included in that report. We want to, our goal is to create a very comprehensive quarterly financial report. And just so I can do a plug for financial policy work that you're going to be doing, that's essentially, it would be the place where you'd be setting financial policy and the guidelines for which the management would follow for reporting. But so nonetheless, the framework for that report is something that we're already working on, knowing that that is an important tool for council to understand financial performance and health of our finances.
So what kind of time frame then can we sort of think of maybe seeing a draft of what that might look like? Is that the next committee meeting, or do you need a cut? Like what would sort of be a time frame?
Great question. I would say to give the finance team a little bit of extra capacity, since we are in the middle of providing the 2021 financial report data to the state auditor's office. May is a pretty tough month. And so, and we also were very fortunate to bring on a temporary budget analyst through the Robert Half contract that the council approved for us to bring on extra hands. And so Jana Walker, who has joined us just this week, will be helpful in helping to create that template or that overview. So we do need some capacity. So I'm gonna and Drew may have some other kind of time frame because he's going to be going back to his jury duty. So we also have another hurdle to jump over with regards to our staffing capacity. So nonetheless, I think by the second F&A committee meeting in June, unless Drew says no, that's going to be a hard reach. That's what I would anticipate. We could have at least an outline for F&A committee.
I think that's a very reasonable time frame that Jen just gave.
Okay, so Clerk Estrada, could you just note this item for that second meeting in June? And that'll do for just for tonight on that. Okay. Committee members, sorry, I should have asked, is that any objection to that timing? Fantastic. Okay. See no objection. That's our request then, and we'll talk to you more about it then. Let's see, the 2022 work plan. Committee members, any comments or questions on this?
No, other than I think we just may have added to the work plan with the discussion we just had, so that probably needs to be included in.
Yeah, she's just, this thing is fantastic. She just grabs it up, puts it on the meeting for that meeting, and there it is. So the thing I wasn't sure of is, are there, have you had a chance, Clerk Estrada, to drop onto here? I know there's now a budget calendar that involves the council, involves individual committees, different topics coming. I know this committee has especially heavy lift as compared to some of the other committees. So have you had a chance to drop those meetings and the subjects of those meetings on here yet? I didn't see them, but maybe I missed.
Nope, you are accurate. I have not had an opportunity to, that was adopted last Monday, and it was a heavy agenda week. So
No apology necessary. I just want to make sure I wasn't.
it
missing
is on my
something.
to-do list, I assure you.
Okay,
It'll
wonderful.
be done before the next meeting.
We'll leave that with you. Okay, super.
Thank you.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that there will be one more item that'll be coming forward to FNA, I anticipate from fire, but I'm assuming that would be handled on the back end, correct?
Sorry, I just missed some of your words.
Sorry. There is gonna be another item that's gonna be coming from public safety to FNA with regards to hiring for fire, but I assume that would all be handled on the back end, correct?
Meaning,
By the city folks, sorry.
oh
there'll be-
yeah, if there's something that needs to come forward, just like an agenda bill in that, they usually handle getting that on onto the agenda. Okay, let's see. Moving on to city council agenda. What's this note? Yeah, moving on to city council agenda review. I won't say what I sometimes say, which then always curses a council meeting. So it looks like.
You're gonna say it, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
We have, let's see, presentations and proclamations. Oh, could we add an item for council council committee assignment under, I guess that would be appointments. Where does that go? Am I looking at that? Yeah. Is there used to be a section for appointments. Is that still? Oh, Clerk Estrada.
So what I do is I modify presentations and proclamations to include if we have appointments. I just try not to put language on there that makes it look like there's an item missing.
Fantastic. If we could just add a third item under that for council committee appointments.
I will add that, and I will adjust the title for the agenda.
All right, and then it looks
You
like
can do that?
she's magical. She can do a lot of
That's
stuff.
great.
Clerk Estrada, the correct answer is our software won't allow us to do that.
Yeah, I know.
I will make it happen.
That is fantastic.
Sorry, Mr. Smith, that's an old joke. That wasn't directed towards you.
No, sir, I was laughing along with you.
All right, let's see. So the item 5, historic downtown relook, I believe that's not coming forward to this council meeting. Is that correct? Clerk Estrada, did you have your hand up? Did you have something else to say?
I'm sorry, sir, I forgot to lower my hand.
No problem. So I think item 5 is not on the agenda. And then item 6, I think may have gone to consent.
That's correct.
Great. And then item 7, we sent to consent.
Correct.
City Attorney Sturbank.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to, I don't think it probably will affect where you place this, but just wanted to let the committee know that I misspoke when I said that the funding for that item comes out of the police department. It comes out of the non-departmental fund in the general fund, and my mistake in relying on my memory and not having Mr. Boutte vet that before. So I just wanted to let the committee know. We'll correct that in the agenda bill as well.
Fantastic. I have a committee members, any questions regarding that? I, Mr. Sturbank, have also learned the hard way not to mention things without clearing it with Mr. Boutte first. It's easy to get it wrong from memory, right? Okay. So number
Except he left. There he is. I was going to say except he left the meeting, but there he is.
So item 7, I think is
Chair.
Councilmember Holloway.
Item 6. I don't know the meat of it, but I'm just wondering, considering the light agenda, is there value of having that as part of a council discussion? So all council members are aware of the kind of the process for the comp plan and the docket that's coming forward.
So the committee, it's not my committee, but I do sit on it. The committee thought it was pretty straightforward stuff. Just put it on consent. It's about approving a process that it's pretty straightforward. So obviously, obviously any council member can pull it off consent, but the committee thought it should go on consent.
Okay, I'll take a look when the full agenda comes out. All right, thank you.
Let's see. Trying to remember what was on it. I think it really had to do with some items that had been raised. You know what? I'm not having just learned from Mr. Sturbank not to try and do it from memory. I won't, but I think you'll find it's items that it aren't necessarily what you're thinking, and it's pretty straightforward stuff.
Okay.
Clerk Estrada.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to bring the committee up to speed that there's a possibility that there's at least one more proclamation coming forward for National Police Week. And then there's a possibility of a third proclamation that I will be confirming tomorrow, but that is pretty straightforward.
Okay. Council members, any questions or objections? All right, if not, that sounds great, Clerk Estrada. Mayor Ross.
I think we're going to add an executive session. We may need that.
Is there a topic?
Potential litigation.
Got it. Fantastic. So let's add that. If we don't need it, we can always pull it off, right?
Correct.
All right. Clerk Estrada, will you add that?
And
All right. And then let's see, where was it? Yeah, item 7, I think, is consent. Let me just see. I'm trying to do this. Consent. So I think all the agenda bills are going to be consent. And then we get to committee of the whole. Is this item 8 just well, no, this is exactly what we talked about. This is council members coming back with their priorities. So this council member should have done that prior to the meeting, or certainly at the meeting. And then the goal is to try and adopt a comprehensive priority list. Is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what that is. The only thing is, I think we talked about this language here says for the 2023-2024 biennial budget. I think we want to strike those words. It's just discuss draft priorities and move to approve an adopted list of council priorities, period. I think that's what we agreed to at the council meeting. All right. Clerk Estrada, did you catch that? Wonderful. And then item 9 is just, I assume, is just an update on how getting ready for hybrid meetings and so on. That'll just be an update from staff or administration.
that's correct.
Or is that item
Yes. sir.
left over and it's stray and it shouldn't be there?
Nope, it's just an update. We want to continue to keep council in the loop where we stand with our hybrid meetings and our technology updates. So that
Fantastic.
you, are in the know.
Fantastic. Okay, is that oh, I see, because it's hybrid. Yeah, that makes great sense. Okay. Any other items? Oh, Mayor Ross.
So two things. So this will be the first hybrid meeting that we have, right? So it will be, hopefully every council member will show up and be there,
Yes.
right? Starting at 7 o'clock. And the other thing is I'm curious about the, you said a council committee assignment. Is that, which one does that have to do with?
We'll see it. It's just appointment of council committees.
Okay, because I am working on the ARPA selecting, so.
Yes, I would assume the council would be looking to approve the council members you select for that committee.
I think I was given the authority by the resolution to select the council or the two.
Oh, you believe the mayor now is appointing council committees?
No, I'm believing that the wording was I would be select or similar to appoint to the ARPA committee.
I don't think select is similar to appoint. Committee members, do you have any viewpoint on this? All right.
Yeah,
So-
is there a conflict on appointees coming from? I mean, who are we suggesting to be on the ARPA committee? Just lay it out on the floor. I'm not sure there's a disagreement on the appointees.
Correct. At this
Yeah, I don't even know who it's going to be. I'm assuming we're going to ask the mayor on Monday. She's going to tell us and we're going to appoint them.
Well, I was kind of hoping Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor could mutually appoint. If there's no agreement on the appointees, I can sidestep the issue of who does the appointment if both appoint together. I understand the issue. I probably agree with the issue. But I don't know that we need to have that issue at the council meeting. But I don't have a bone in this one, so. Unless somebody tells me they were going to appoint me. I mean,
I know.
I can't do it in the meeting in the middle of the day.
All right, so we've got this item added to the agenda. Is that correct? Clerk Estrada,
Well-
we've added that to the agenda?
I have committee appointments on the agenda. Is there more than one committee appointment?
No, just council committee appointments.
Yes, yes, council committee appointment.
I think our city attorney can also weigh in.
I guess the council rules don't provide for the ARPA committee. It's not a formally constituted committee. The language referring to it is in the resolution that was adopted by the council at the last meeting. I think that the language came on Councilmember Holloway's motion that the criteria and the allocations were to be vetted by the committee whose members are selected by the mayor, is the wording of the resolution.
Bob, can you bring that resolution up?
I can, or does the city clerk
I can bring it up.
have it?
I'm opening it right now. Bear with me one moment. Okay.
And I apologize if I caused this situation.
Okay, can you all see the resolution?
No. Yes.
And if I need to bring up the minutes, I can bring up the minutes too. Let me come down to the section where. This part right here of mayor's selection. following evaluation applications.
I do not recall that being the wording that you said, Councilmember Holloway.
Well, I'm not sure that's a piece of text that was changed or was pre-existing. I believe it was pre-existing, but regardless, it's there. I do concur with you, Mayor Pro Tem, that council committee assignments are a council responsibility. However, in this case, we said of mayor selection.
Yeah, so I don't understand the beef, to be honest. We want to let the mayor pick the committee members she wants for this. If what we're doing is some fundamental change in how council, we're no longer having council members we're no longer having the mayor pro tem appoint council committees, then I am surprised that is what we thought we were changing at our meeting. I certainly don't remember any discussion of that.
No, I do not believe what we are doing.
That's not what this resolution does not affect your existing committee appointment process that's set forth in the council rules which speaks to FNA, this committee, Public Safety, Community Development Committee, and the Parks and Public Works Committee.
So my term is as mayor pro tem. I appointed ad hoc committees before. So this is all kind of baffling. I think it's a big shift if we're shifting.
No. I think this was a unique circumstance. I wouldn't want administration and attorney to note moving forward, if we're talking a council committee, appointment is by the mayor pro tem. End of statement. This agenda bill was approved with contrary wordage in there. I don't believe we actually discussed that. I have to go back and look. Maybe I did that inadvertently, and I again apologize up front, but I don't think there's objection of the appointees. Let's move forward with the appointees, but of note, council committee assignment moving forward should be mayor pro tem's responsibility. Period.
I was looking for good housekeeping. Mayor picks her committee. We go through the council appointment process. We keep good housekeeping. If we're veering off of that, that's the council's choice.
We can certainly bring the excerpt of the meeting on that motion. I think the city clerk and I both vetted the language in this section of the resolution as it came out of the council meeting. And the mayor pro tem is correct. This language is different than the language in the rules of procedure as to the existing council committees.
I'm just saying, let's not get caught up in a sort of useless separation of powers discussion. The mayor is getting her committee. Let's just have good housekeeping around it.
And meaning,
it's a council committee. Let's have it appointed the way council committees are.
again, I'm trying to thread the needle that yes, and Bob, do the research whether we really meant to do this or we did this inadvertently. And I'll take blame for the party faux pas. My paper plate fell apart and I've made a mess. I agree in the future, we'll have firmer plates and we'll move forward, but the mess is the mess. Let's deal with it, move on. Let's do the committee assignment. At least the text inadvertently in here says by the mayor's selection. I don't think we have argument over who the mayor is selecting. Let's go ahead and do appointment by mayor, but again, moving forward, council committees are assigned by the council through the mayor pro tem.
Your call, Holloway. I think it's a bad move. It's a bad precedent to set, but look, there's no disagreement on the committee members, so let's just move on, right?
I'm just trying to make everybody happy.
You know, that can be You end
Or
up in a real mess doing that.
everybody equally mad at me, one of the way or the other.
Councilman Christensen, did you want to make a comment? Your hand was up, but now it's down, so maybe you changed your mind.
Yeah, it was, I'm fine. I'm
Okay.
fine with going forward in that fashion and just making sure that we're extra careful going forward.
Okay.
Sorry, so am I making an appointment or not?
I think in this case, for this specific action, unless Bob advises those words were inadvertently introduced post-meeting, that the wordage says by mayor selection in this particular singular action, never to be repeated.
Agreed, because we do have the resolution assuming that it does accurately reflect what was said, which I don't doubt that it does, but as long as that's what we put forth, I think we're probably bound to it at this point. But again, making extra sure that we know exactly how things are going forward, I think will save maybe some of these discussions in the future.
Okay, so it sounds like we do not need that item, Clerk Estrada, so you can take that back up. And you don't have to change the header.
Well, wait a minute. We still need the committee assignment, correct? It's just in this unique case, we're saying the mayor's doing it.
No, we don't get to. If you're outside of the process, the mayor just gets to just move ahead. She doesn't need our approval. That's what you're saying.
Mayor Ross, do you want approval? Do you not want approval? Do you want the agenda item on?
I don't want the agenda item on, and I think you'll be fine with the selection. We haven't gone through the selection on this when I was chosen last year and Mayor Pro Tem was chosen last year, or we added Rob Watton to this.
Wasn't a council committee last year.
There's at least two of us on it.
It wasn't a council committee. There was never any council committee appointed. The mayor then asked some council members to join in, but there was no council committee ever appointed.
Okay.
All right, any other items for the city council agenda? All right, seeing none, I think we're at the end of our agenda. Any other items for F&A committee tonight? All right, if there's no objection, then we will adjourn. See no, or I guess we will close the meeting. See no objection. Our meeting is closed.
Adjourn. All right.